I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and I figured I might as well take a look outside, see if it's still dark enough and clear enough to take photos. And it was, and prominent in the sky was Jupiter. So I thought I'd get my 200 millimeter lens on my camera and put it on the tripod and take some shots of Jupiter. And I played around, got the exposure right. Basically I settled on a half a second and 100 ISO because Jupiter is so bright. But when I do that, then the moons don't show up very well. But I figured if I take enough photos, I can stack them and see the moons. So I thought, okay, I'll go get the Astra star tracker mount and put it on the tripod, put the camera on it, and see how that works out. And it didn't really work out well because my camera with that lens is so heavy. It wasn't tracking very well. And so, but that's okay because it kind of, we'll see later on in this video that it was fortunate that things were moving around. So I had a little bit of star trailing, but that's okay. I was just playing around. So I shot 50 frames, and by the time I shot 50 frames, it was too bright, getting too bright to take any more. So I shot my darks and my bias, and I went inside, figuring I'm not going to fall asleep again, so I'll just process the frames. So I bring them into Deep Sky Stacker, and it says, "Oh no, there's only one star," and so from experience, I know you can't align and stack uh, anything that only has one star. So I figured, okay, waste of time, but I got to play with the equipment. So, but later in the morning, I thought, wait a minute, you know, why don't I do some pre-processing on these frames and see if that can help Deep Sky Stacker? So I brought them into Lightroom and I played with the histogram so that I got images that look sort of like this: noisy, but Jupiter, moons, stars. And so I loaded those into Deep Sky Stacker and ultimately produced this frame. This is after taking the output TIFF file and playing with the histogram so that it looks reasonable. So what I'm seeing here is Jupiter with some moons, a star, and what's this? It looks like a smudge. So I if I zoom in on that, I'm like, what is that? And I thought my initial thought was, oh, I got a nebula, but it's not. It's not a nebula, at least not that Stellarium knows about. It, right now, Jupiter is in or near Aries, and there's no nebula there. So then I was like, okay, if it's not a nebula and it's kind of green, it maybe it's a comet. And hey, maybe I discovered a comet. So I search around on the web for comet identification and comet tracking, and I came to the skylive.com, and I said, okay, now I'm gonna search around. So I I go in Stellarium, bring up the view at the time of the morning that I took the shots, and I say, okay, I see this red frame is my field of view of that lens, and I see Jupiter, and I see this what would be a bright star, and nothing here to explain that smudge. But if it's comet, it's not going to be in Stellarium. So unless there's a way to turn on comets, but that I don't know about. So I played around looking at the location of this star, the location of Jupiter, and the approximate location of where that smudge is. And I came up with for it like a an approximate location of where to look for a comet, and I landed on looking up this comet here, uh, 32P Comus Sola, and here is Jupiter, and here is that star. So it has the right configuration for what my photo looks like. If I click on if I hover over this and look at the altitude and azimuth of it, and I go in and I look at the altitude and azimuth of this, and if I go into Stellarium and do the same thing, then it matches. The the projection looks a little different, but it might be just a difference in projection because here we've got this projection, and my flat image, which is another projection. But I'm pretty confident that that is a an actual comet, and it's that comet. So um, and I figured, well, that'll make a nice video. I accidentally took a photograph of Jupiter and a comet. But then I thought, hey, why don't I take those frames and animate them? So these are the raw frames with just the histogram played with so things are visible, and put them together. And now I can sweep through the frames, and you can see that that comet is moving as time goes on, moves to the left. While, and this is why I said it's fortunate, it's fortunate that the tracker wasn't tracking, because you can see Jupiter and this star rotating to the right, which is correct for star and planet movement, but the comet is moving in the opposite direction. So that's definitely a comet. And yeah, oh, it's not a cloud because if I this is a zoomed in photo. So let's see what's not zoomed in. This is not zoomed in. So you can see, you know, th- that would be a teeny tiny cloud, and it would be um, uh, what, hanging up in the sky there, and it's green. No, it's that comet. So I'm happy. I didn't discover a comet, but it's a discovery for me that you could just randomly point your camera into the sky and come across comets. So that's the story, and I hope it was entertaining for you. But actually, it might be useful information if you don't mind getting that. It's not going to give you the best results, and you had underexposed photos. You could pre-process them, and and I produced TIFF files, and I fed those into Deep Sky Stacker. So that's like a workaround when uh, when it says you only have one star. Maybe you can give it a little bit of help in finding stars. So that's the story. Thank you.